Welcome back to the Red Dice Diaries. I'm your host John, and today after the music I'm going to be talking about a recent eBay RPG purchase that I made. Okay, so a while back I bought a copy of the Goodman Games Original Adventures Reincarnated Into the Borderlands, which incorporates module B2, Keep on the Borderlands, fairly famous module that I'm sure you're all aware of, written by Gary Gygax. And in the Into the Borderlands they incorporate B1, B2. They also have an updated 5th edition version, and they put multiple printings in there, and there's loads of interesting historical sort of essays and interviews with people who were involved in the production of the module, people who've played the module and how they sort of made it their own, so to speak, and what it means to them. And it's a really interesting book to read. However, and this isn't to diss the book in any way, but in my mind it's a bit of a coffee table book. It's a fairly substantial, weighty tome, which is good fun to read. I mean, particularly if you're interested in the sort of historical background of it, but I don't see me actually using it at the table a lot. Now, for me, I run a lot of my games online using virtual tabletops and stuff like that. And I'm in a fairly small room with a little table, all my computer set up, a small desk next to me with where I keep my books and stuff like that. Space is at a bit of a premium, it's fair to say. So having a massively weighty tome isn't really conducive to that. I mean, one of the things I like about a lot of the OSR games, obviously not the only thing, but one of the things I do like about them is they tend to come in small forms, sort of A5 or digest size books, and that works really well for me. It's one of the things, like I say, not the only thing, but it's one of the things that I like about Old School Essentials, which is my current OSR game of flavour, that it's all in this sort of A5/digest format. However, I really enjoyed reading the Keep on the Borderlands, and because I've never actually ran it myself, but it is regarded as a classic module. It was a bit before my time. In fact, I believe it came out either in the same year or the year after I was born. But having read it in the original Adventures Reincarnated, I really enjoyed it. And I thought, yeah, do you know what? I'd actually kind of like to run this using Old School Essentials, just to maybe see how it sort of bears up nowadays. Would it work within a campaign? And also to like get a bit of a piece of that action that so many people have raved about, because I don't have those old experiences of running it when it first came out. Now, as I've said, because of space, etc., I'm not likely to use the original Adventures Reincarnated version, and whenever I've seen it online, it's been for silly money, and much as I want to run it, I'm not going to pay a stupendous amount of money for it. And I've heard mixed things about print on demand for this particular module, so I've sort of left it by the wayside. However, the other day I was looking through eBay on my mobile phone, just browsing a few things, as you do. Now, unfortunately, my mobile phone's silent, but via the miracle of editing, I'll put some appropriate mobile phone tones in here. And as I was looking on eBay, I found a used condition version of the Keep on the Borderlands module for £15 British, with like a few pounds postage and packaging on top of that, which is pretty good going compared to the other stuff I've seen. Now, I looked in the vendor's description and they said, oh, there's a few small tears on the edges of the cover, but all the pages are present. However, there's a bit of rust around the center staples in it, a few light pencil marks and stuff like that. However, weirdly, I think I actually prefer getting old stuff, and I'm sure I've said this before, when it's actually been used a little bit. As long as you can still read in all the pages there and the information's in there. I actually quite like looking at like the back of this module where there's some space for you writing down additional non-player characters. And I can see that there's a couple of tradesmen, a dwarf, an elf, a cleric and a magic user that someone has fairly lightly penciled in the back here with their personalities, any special sort of characteristics, their stats, their AC, their hit points, what their level is, where they're located, and stuff like that. And the reason I like that is because it tells me that this version of the game has been used and well loved during its life. It's not simply been bought by someone who shrink wrapped it or put it in a plastic baggie, put it on their shelf to either look at and adore but never actually use, or simply so they can turn it around later and make a profit. Now, obviously, the trade-off with that is that, yeah, there are some splits down the cover, and I'm going to have to do a little bit of repair work on it just to make sure it stays together and that I don't lose any of the pages. A couple of the pages are a little bit loose, but, you know, it's nothing that can't be taken care of with a bit of TLC. And the payoff for that is that at a really reasonable price, I've got a piece of what I like to think of D&D gaming history in my hands, and I didn't have to take out a second mortgage to do so. So I think that's a really worthwhile trade-off. And as I say, I love the fact that reading through this, you can sort of get a bit of an idea that it's been played a number of times and that the previous owner really did enjoy this, and before they chose to pass it on for whatever reasons. So I think, as I said at the start, I actually prefer these slightly used items that I know have been in a good home, that someone has enjoyed playing, rather than that's been just sat on a shelf as a display piece. So nothing more profound to say other than that, but I'd love to hear your opinion. What do you think about sort of slightly used condition modules and old pieces of gaming esoterica? Do you mind having a little bit of penciling on the pages, maybe a few loose pages, a bit of minor damage on the cover, or do you like your stuff to be pristine, as fresh as the moment when the pod went pop, so to speak, as though it's just come out of the printing press and you're willing to pay that sort of heavy premium for that? I'd love you to call in and let me know, maybe feature your call on a future episode. If you'd like to get in touch, there are a few different ways you can do so. You can send us a voicemail message to SpeakPipe or Anchor using the link in the descriptions of this show, or you can send us an email to rddrpgpodcast@gmail.com. So until we see you again, take care, stay safe, and whenever you're playing, have fun.